FamiCorner is back, baby. That's right. This is Top Rider, an inflatable motorcycle controller. That sounds like Famicom to me. Released by Very in 1988, the Top Rider set includes the inflatable motorbike, the handlebar controller attachment, a beautiful yellow air pump, what I assume is a small tube of sticky goo that you can use to repair any punctures in your inflatable bike, registration card, and the Top Rider game software. But before we get to the included game, we've got to get pumped. After folding out the vinyl Top Rider inflatable, you can see a typical inflation plug. But they knew kids wouldn't have the lung capacity to deal with this extravagant accessory, so it's time to hook up the air pump. After inserting the blue hose, start pumping some air. Now you could follow the very obvious step pump instruction to use the power of foot to inflate the bike. But I didn't want to stomp all over this vintage piece of gaming hardware, so I foolishly hand pumped it, which took forever, and led me to essentially perform CPR on the thing. You know, I ran out of energy. What can I say? Don't worry, just another 792 chest compressions, and we'll have him in tip-top rider shape. And once inflated, this thing is hilarious. Not necessarily in a good way. This is in the realm of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles blimp toy from the 80s. Wait a second, the Turtle blimp was also released in 1988, the same year as Top Rider. Man, the 80s were all about them blow-ups. The Top Rider bike barely has the shape of a motorcycle. It just looks like a big rectangular beach floaty. And there are some creases fused into the plastic to give it some depth around the wheels and whatnot, but yeah, it's a big rectangle of air. I might trust this to hold the weight of a 6-year-old, but probably not my aging nerd bod. It forces you to almost hold a kung fu horse stance for the entirety of the race, and quickly, Top Rider becomes a workout game. Ooh, giving you the tightest of quads. Before you can control any games, you'll need to attach the handlebars to the inflated bike. On top of the bike are these hard rubber loops. On the underside of the controller, there are slots for them to fit into. Removing these pegs allows the controller to rest on top, and then you have to force the pegs back into the loops to lock the handlebars into place. Now you're ready to look awesome while you game awesome. Now, Very released a number of Formula 1 racing games for the Famicom, Super Famicom, the Game Boy, even the Mega Drive, but this appears to be the only motorcycle-based racer they put out. Top Rider has two gameplay modes, Touring and Grand Prix. The Touring mode offers 4 scenes to choose from. That's right, scenes, don't forget that. We can choose Daytown, Night Cruising, Seaside, or Country Road. And then you just race by yourself on the very, very plain road, though you might slowly pass a few other riders. Then you get your time for the race, if you can call it a race. And that's it. You are literally touring these 4 scenes, trying to get the fastest lap time. Nothing else. It's practically a practice mode with some not-so-great scenery. So let's just jump into the Grand Prix. This is the main tournament mode of the game, and guess what? You get to input your name. Oh, yeah! Name your rider in English? What? Okay, you Japanese game, you. Being all tricky. I love a game where you get to name. It's time for the GP Formula Road Race. The stage screen will present you with the best race time and an overview of the track layout. Now prepare yourself for the most interactive motorcycle gaming experience you've ever had. Oh yeah, you jealous? You jealous? I make this look good. Honestly, who knew an inflatable motorcycle controller would be so awkward? Once the race starts, pull back on the throttle handle to accelerate. Turn by twisting the handles left and right. As your speed increases, switch into high gear by flipping the left handle switch. When sharp turns are up ahead, brake with the right handbrake lever. And if you need a rest, press start on the handlebars for the boingiest pause ever. Oh, but just you wait, there is one more amazing feature of the Top Rider inflatable motorcycle. You can do a wheelie, yes, a freaking wheelie, by leaning back on that cushy ride. It's like early motion controls. Super early. I mean, I can hear the ball bearing just flopping around inside of it. Now, if all this bike controller nonsense is too much for you, there is a way for Top Rider to be played with a regular controller, but that's stupid! Get your butt on that inflatable bike controller and be a real racer. The controls all seem responsive enough, but for someone with nearly adult-sized hands, it's tricky going from throttle to brake. Not a lot of gap there on the controller. But the worst offender is the turning. Every time I came up on a turn, my natural instinct was to lean the bike left or right to take it. But nope, you just twist the handlebars in the direction of your turn. I felt like I wasn't getting enough twist and ended up running off the track on sharp corners. Then once you're stuck on the side of the road, you keep crashing into everything until the track straightens out and you can right yourself. Look, if you can do a wheelie by leaning the bike back, why not give me some side action? Dang! I mean, sometimes felt like it was leaning further when I leaned, but I couldn't figure out if I was just going crazy. Obviously, with a regular controller, I could dominate all the top times. But the developers wanted your booty on that bikey because guess what? There's cheat codes. And only by entering the special code A, B, right, down, left, up, right, B, and A on the second controller can you play the game with a normal controller. A couple of other cheats can be enabled depending on what name you input for the Grand Prix mode. Takuan allows you to play the game starting at the first World Championship race. Misozuke allows you to start at the 5th World Championship race. Momimon disables any collision detection in the game, so you can just drive through all of your enemies, yes! Yatuhashi activates the slow down mode. Ooh, now that is slow. And Tonburi activates the black and white mode. How fancy and unnecessary. But with the Top Rider inflatable motorcycle controller, you can expect a serious challenge regardless of your cheat codes. After each Grand Prix race, you'll be awarded rank points based on your placement. Finish the 4 races with the top score by pulling off some sweet race times, and you'll be awarded with the word, congratulations. Well done, now you're ready to take on the Road Racing World Championship. It's got longer races, more laps to complete, and way more competition on the track. Enjoy your travels through Yugoslavia, the Netherlands, even Great Britain. But strap in for endurance because some of these races are pushing past the 7-minute mark. Ooh, there it is, sore legs again. After these 5 slightly more challenging races, you are champion. No exclamation mark this time. But you do get a full breakdown of both sets of Grand Prix races with your times and finishing rank. It seems that the number of other racers you pass on the track is irrelevant. The game does not show you your position during a race. The game really only tracks your final race time to determine your rank among the 20 competitors. Competitors like Top Ride and Dr. McCoy and Scotty. Okay, I know the spellings are different, but clearly the development team at Very were Star Trek fans. Now, if you can handle the limited turning on the bike controller, Top Rider is not particularly difficult, which is understandable considering it was developed for this ridiculous controller. Once you've practiced the race mechanics in a couple of races, you'll get the hang of it. My first race, I got 4th place out of 20, but once I got a feel for how narrow the tracks were and how to avoid the other racers, I was crushing the best times and pulling off 1st place in each race, racking up those Grand Prix points. And yes, Top Rider even rewards you with an end credits cutscene. Beautiful. And if you haven't had enough Top Rider at this point already, you can go through the Grand Prix again and continue to rack up those rank points. Okay, now let's talk about these graphics. You've seen them. They are pretty. Nothing too fancy here, though Race 3 in the initial Grand Prix tries to spice things up a bit by emulating a track with fog all over it. It's a foggy track. That's got to be what they're going for, but don't expect anything mind-blowing on screen in Top Rider. And it's sad to say the music is almost as forgettable as the graphics, because the only music you really get to enjoy is menu music. And there is music during the touring scenes, but during the Grand Prix, During those Grand Prix races, the only music you'll hear is the rhythm of the bike engine, syncopated with the occasional sounds of crashing destruction as you collide with other racers. But overall, for 1988, the game plays fine. Obviously, the big draw was the inflatable bike controller, but you can get some fun out of it, and the best part of the game is trying to beat your best times on the different tracks. But other than that, there's not much here. It's no mock rider on NES. It's a shame that most of these weird Japanese peripherals came with not-so-stellar games, but maybe we can fix that. Let's think about it. The Hypershot machine gun worked with Duck Hunt and other light gun games. Perhaps we can see just what the Top Rider inflatable motorcycle controller is compatible with. Nothing. The answer is nothing. I tried a whole handful of different games, North American games, Japanese Famicom games, racing games, platforming games. Nothing worked. It seems like the Top Rider motorcycle controller is only recognized by its own game. Think about how awesome it would have been to play some RC Pro-Am or Rad Racer, heck, even Mock Rider. It just would have been hilarious to play Super Mario Bros. While riding on a big rectangular inflatable motorcycle balloon. Oh, a girl can dream, though. A girl can dream.